What's up, everybody? I'm Jeremy, and you are at singingsessions.com. Today's free video teaser is called 5 Big Mistakes Singers Make While Practicing or Performing. I have definitely been guilty in the past of all of these things, and I have a feeling so have you guys. And a lot of you are still making these mistakes, but you just don't know it yet. So here it is. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this free video teaser brought to you by singingsessions.com. So number 1 is you don't practice slowly enough. If you're getting frustrated on your gigs because you're not nailing that thing you spent hours practicing, then chances are you're practicing incorrectly. Whether you play an instrument, or in this case, if the instrument is your own voice, it's all the same. It takes muscle control to control your instrument. I always say that singing is an athletic event. A lot of people think really emotionally about their singing, and they focus more on that than the actual technique or physiology of what they're doing. I'll go into that a little bit more later, but the bottom line is, just like any athletic event, you must execute all muscular events in repetition in order to master those songs. It might not seem like it, but your vocal muscles move quickly, even during songs you consider slow. So use a metronome and set it to a very slow tempo. Repeat your trouble spots over and over again. Especially to all of you beginning singers out there, your brain needs to learn and memorize the muscle events in each phrase you sing. And doing them at a slow tempo first is going to clarify those events way faster than if you're just doing it at their intended tempo. Like if you're the person who's just doing it at the tempo that it was written for, man, trust me, you're mostly just teaching yourself how to sing it wrong. So you got to start slow and gradually speed it all up. Number 2, you don't know what to practice. Most of you just run through the song a million times hoping for the best, but that's never going to help you actually master your song or those especially difficult phrases. To get the most out of your practice time, you've got to work on the physical habits behind what you're practicing. Like behind what this, like, don't just sing the song, sing the, practice the values that build together to make the song. Although you should perform vocal exercises also that like isolate all of those concepts and values separately, here are a few areas where you should be tracking your progress while you're actually practicing the songs too. Which registers should you sing in? A lot of my students ask me, well, Jeremy, should I be in chest voice or in head voice during this phrase? To which I reply with a smug little grin, yes. And they always chuckle because they know what I mean. Chest voice and head voice are broad terms that help young beginning singers recognize the extremes of how they can make themselves sound. Most voice teachers across the world don't even agree with how to define these terms, so why should you lose sleep over it, especially in the beginning? My advice is simple. Don't consider these terms while practicing. You'll only cause yourself panic and self-doubt. Your main goals should be to produce a clear tone and release any pressure on your throat at all times. You must especially eliminate those growly, and poppy noises that you make in those lyrics that start with vowels like I love you. Instead of I love you, take it away. Say I love you. Hear the difference? Instead of I, it's I or I. No. Picture Britney Spears singing, oh, baby, baby, at the beginning of Hit Me Baby One More Time. You might roll your eyes, but a lot of you are still doing that and then turning around and making fun of Britney Spears for how she sounds. Stop it right now. You're doing it too. It's the worst habit ever. The next one of those is breath support. So if you keep running out of breath too early, take note. You don't actually need lots of air to leave your body to make a note sound clear or loud. Are you preparing yourself for an awesome phrase with an awesome breath every time? And once you've taken that awesome breath, are you fighting for dear life to keep that air in your lungs while you're singing? Well, you should be. Lots of singers waste little bits of air throughout their phrases without realizing it. For example, we tend to make dramatic lyrics or syllables way more explosive than they need to be. Consonants, especially the letter H, can be breath support killers. Pay close attention to your abdominal area, aka your diaphragm and upper internal abdominals, as well as your throat, to make sure you're conserving that awesome air you just took in. All of this will keep you from sounding breathy, and your voice will stop cracking and breaking. The next one of those is dynamics, your louds and softs. Even though you see piano or forte on a piece of sheet music, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should sing the entire phrase or the entire song equally quiet or loud. It'll make you sound kind of boring. Unless you're singing classical music with very specific instructions about the dynamics, what you see on your sheet music is only meant to be a guide, a suggestion, not a strict law. Using your dynamics creatively is one of the coolest things that can set you apart from other singers. Those who are the boldest and most creative with their dynamics are not only more pleasing to listen to, but they are perceived as more confident singers. The key is to remember what I said in number 1 and number 2. While you're using your dynamics, keep that tone clear even when you're going for super quiet dynamics. Don't make a habit of being breathy for quiet moments. So the last thing on this list of things that you should be focusing on when you're practicing is tone, aka how bright or dark you want your tone to be at any point. It shouldn't be the same amount for the whole song. Just like boldly changing your dynamics will make you sound more confident, the same idea applies for making things sound bright or dark. Fun fact: when you sing a note with a clear tone, your voice produces not only that note, but a series of related higher pitches called overtones, which make your voice sound fuller. Overtones travel to different sized cavities in and around your vocal cords because different notes have different sized sound waves. One overtone might fit in some cavities, but others may not. The best part about this? By changing the shape of your mouth, certain parts of your throat, and your nose, we are able to manipulate these overtones to change how bright or dark we want our tone to be. In fact, vowels are merely a bunch of popular manipulations of our overtones. We've just taken them for granted over the years because it's just part of our language. If you want to see some serious overtone manipulation, go on YouTube and do a search for throat singing. You will be mesmerized, amazed, and even a little weirded out by the fact that they're able to make certain overtones get so loud that it sounds like they're singing two notes at the same time. I'm serious. But don't try the growly throat singing style at home. Definitely consult a professional before doing anything that puts pressure on your throat. Number 3, you let your adrenaline get the better of you and it messes up your technique. Even well-trained singers are guilty of this. Most singers, myself included, are emotional beings and we are socially hyper-aware. I mean, we chose singing so that we could have a spotlight. So there must be something in us that wants to affect people on a higher level than our non-performing peers. That aspect of you is great, as long as your intentions are positive. But it's also the part of you that makes you nervous when you're on stage. You want so badly to be effective to others that it makes you nervous, sometimes to the point of paralysis, when you go on stage to perform for them. You must learn to focus your energy into your breath and the execution of that breath into a clear, strong tone, just like you did in the practice room. Get this, you're already affecting your audience positively by being up there in the first place. Most performing situations are not life or death, and your audience, just like you, only wants to feel good. They won't care about your mistakes. You must change your mindset in order to relax and allow your body to function correctly the way you practiced. Number 4, you are too emotionally introverted. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel emotions when you're singing, but I am saying that you should stop keeping those emotions for yourself, and you need to start visually sharing them with your audience. You should be approaching the emotional side of your singing, dare I say it, with a technical practice regimen. Let's use sadness as an example. You should totally be free to feel sad if you are actually sad while you're singing that sad song. But most of us aren't emotionally psychic, and your audience, we just don't feel the way you feel simply because you're frowning and closing your eyes with a pained look on your face while you're singing. In fact, that's a pretty powerful way to make us really bored and leave. You must find a way to show your emotions externally so that we feel them too. You can and should express your emotions with certain dynamics or tones in your voice. Actors have perfected the art of using body language to express their characters' emotions so that their audience really captures them and feels them also. I'm going to stick to this sadness example. Have you considered what type of sad you are and what you're trying to convey? Sadness is considered a primary emotion, but look, it only took me 10 seconds to do an online search for this list of secondary emotions which fall under the sadness category. To name a few: depression, despair, disappointment, hopelessness, gloom, grief, guilt, shame, remorse, sorrow, woe, misery, and melancholy. I bet if you went a bit deeper in your mind and heart, you could imagine A, what a person feeling any of these secondary emotions would look like as they're feeling them, B, how any of those secondary emotions could be tied together under many circumstances, C, how sadness could sometimes be connected with anger-related emotions such as disgust, envy, jealousy, or frustration, and D, how in some cases stubbornness or pride might keep a person from showing how they really feel. Figure out which of these emotions seem appropriate for your song and reflect them all at different points in your performance. Trust me, your audience will get the picture, and it's way better than just frowning, closing your eyes, and just sometimes using a breathy tone, which obviously I hate when you do anyway. So that's a great one. Think about that one. Take a lot of time with that one. You're too emotionally introverted. So share it with your audience. Lastly, number 5. You think that big high note in your song will only seem climactic to your audience if you work harder to sing it. This is a mistake every single singer has made, and even I was guilty of it for a few years. Quick story. I used to crack all over the place on high notes in high school, only because I was trying to be extra dramatic or theatrical with my delivery. I would make this huge, loud gasp, raise my shoulders and chin, and crack out those high notes like my life depended on them. I was bellowing those high notes to the ceiling like I was a werewolf in transition. I would crack blatantly every time. It became predictable, and it started to actually get really embarrassing. I eventually became frustrated and completely bummed out, and I resigned myself to the fact that I'd never be able to reach those notes without cracking. I kept working on my breathing and clarity, but when the big notes came around, I just gave up. I stopped putting so much physical and dramatic effort into those notes because what was the point? I was just going to crack again anyway. Within a month or two, the cracking started going away and eventually stopped. I started getting comments from practically everyone about how much better I was sounding. I bet you're thinking, wait a second. You mean to tell me that if all I need to do is just stop working hard and all my high notes will come out without cracking? Well, not exactly. I had been working too hard on just one note, only so that I could seem dramatic or theatrical to my audience. My advice: take all of that intensity that you've been saving up for that one single note and distribute it evenly across the entire song. Treat every note and phrase like they're that important, because they are. Well, that just about does it for me, everybody. Focus on all the things I talked to you about in this video. I guarantee you, your songs are going to improve quickly. Hey, by the way, upgrade immediately. Don't forget, the Gold membership gets you customized, personalized response videos. Whenever you have questions, all you got to do is send us messages as a Gold member, and you can get videos just for you. Don't forget. Now go practice. I'll see you soon. Welcome to SingingSessions.com.